Okay, Farah Hocam, the floor is yours now.
Hello. Joseph Conrad, a naturalized British subject, in his short story The Lagoon, outlines the colonizer's stance in this power relation. Structurally, the colonized subject's four-person tale constitutes the bulk of the text. Thematically, the Asian man's story revolves around a personal scale instead of colonialism. Yet, both the enclosed narrative and the overall text discern the state of the colonizer. The short story obliquely points to emotive, affective problems of colonization and enables a secret comparison between the colonized and the colonizer regarding their humanity or human frailties. The central story is a tale of love, both as romantic and fraternal, plus is able to dig into the denied brotherhood of humankind. The white man is a figure of reserve and reticence and reveals his integral self through the agency of the colonized, which may foreshadow post-colonial awareness. Robert Thompson accordingly notes, Conrad's writing anticipates the dialogic modes of modern anthropology. Some strange mirroring and echo proceed in the short story involving the two main characters, while Frederick Cooper acknowledges scholarly interest in colonialism arose when colonial empires had already ceased, and at the heart of colonialism is the rule of difference, and in between, rather within and outside the British Empire, had already whispered delicate convergence and commonness. The white man's silence and reserve recall Foucault. Silence is a form of oppression. Our silence is never merely personal. The lagoon becomes a silent critic of colonialism, simulating the white man's sympathy and kindness. As a sign of aloofness throughout the story, the white man is anonymous. With the definitive article's function, he is a representative of his colonial culture, whereas the text enables the audience to learn the native couple's names. The tale opens with the phrase "the white man," supposedly emphasizing his normative authority, and we see him give an order to a Malaysian boatman. However, the body language of the white man points to a release instead of strictness, leaning with both arms over the roof of the little house in the stern. Suitably, his command is to stop by Arsat's clearing. Arsat has been from the upper stratum of his society. His people are warriors in the service of the Raja. But since he eloped with Diamelan, a maid of the ruler's wife, the couple is surviving in exile. To spend the night in someone else's place is a precarious situation. One chooses such a spot sensibly. Against harsh nature and night, the familiar native's house stands for safety. The omniscient narrator of the frame narrative, generally focalizing the Western man, depicts the wild natural environment loaded with human conception. The churned up water frothed alongside with a confused murmur. Interestingly, the native boatman would rather pass the night in the sampan and sleep on the water. Although all are of the same land and culture, they consider Arsat the other. The lagoon is a deserted spot with a weird aspect, ghostly reputation. They are superstitious about Arsat's willing stay in the locale. His familiar ghosts are not easy to precipitate by casual wayfarers upon whom they long to wreak the malice of their human master. This ironically associates Arsat with the white man since Conrad's terminology alludes to power and hierarchy. White men care not for such things, being unbelievers and in league with the father of evil who leads them unharmed through the invisible dangers of this world. Juxtaposition and agency point to the imperialistic pursuit as a hellish experience. Like Arsat, the white man is away from his motherland, his people, and his relatives. He does not originally belong to the region and the folk. He needs to survive under difficult and threatening natural circumstances. Moreover, as Arsat is supposed to be, the white man is cursed. In his first-person narrative, Arsat too likens himself and his people to the colonizers. We are of a people who take what they want like you whites. The Westerner got to know him years ago in a far country in times of trouble and danger when no friendship is to be despised. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy indicates basics of friendship as mutual caring or love, intimacy, and shared activity. He liked a man who knew how to keep faith in counsel and how to fight without fear by the side of his white friend. He liked him well enough to help and ask no questions, to think sometimes in the middle of his own pursuits about the lonely man and the long-haired woman with audacious face. As the text explores a mirroring structure as much as juxtaposition, in the central narrative we directly hear the native man on the same topic. The traders came and went. I was glad to hear, for I remember the stirring times, and I always remembered you. The two have a shared past personal history, a drastic one. They observe and appreciate their similar traits like honor, courage, and discretion, and they take care of one another. They resume by no greeting despite colonial positioning. Nevertheless, the Asian man addresses the white man as Tuan, meaning the master in his tongue. The Amdashes present a colonial hierarchy and division, not so much perhaps as a man likes his favorite dog. In the discursive tension, the unnaturalness of colonialism competes with an innate urge for comradeship. Diamalan and Arsat allude to an archetypal struggle for survival despite desertion and deprivation. These Asian Adam and Eve are rebellious, haughty, courageous, left to their own devices, enough to arouse people's awe, almost like the image of colonizers. An analogy between the cursed native outcast and his cursed status of the ruling master has been established in the white man's psyche. The white man seems to carry a suppressed guilt and anxiety, figuratively expressed in his wonder about the emblematic couple alone and feared. If they achieve, so may he. Conrad's text makes use of another archetypal entity to deconstruct the white man's burden. Diamalan perishes due to the infectious mosquitoes. When inquired by the Asian man, the Westerner bluntly gives his view about her prospects, yet sorrowfully. While Arsat watches out for her, he is smoking thoughtfully. And re-inquired about the woman's end, the white man moved his shoulders uneasily and muttered in a hesitating manner, if such is her fate. Conrad bestows on this white man an ability to sympathize. The idea of individual death is extended to the universal theme of death. The text graphically presents the audience with it. Stars, ceaseless and vain, the white man gazed straight before him into the darkness with wide open eyes. That near, unavailable, and unseen suited the rest of his race and stirred the most indistinct of his thoughts. The ever-ready suspicion of evil that lurks in our hearts flowed out into the stillness and made it appear like the impenetrable mask of an unjustifiable violence. He has witnessed many atrocities and gone through various dangers. The white man's burden, that is, the so-called divine mission of the Westerners to civilize non-European cultures and lands, turns into his own unbearable lightness of being and the absurdity and evil of colonization. By the agency of Arsat Sram, the colonizer is reminded of his own inevitable death. Arsat's life story, too, becomes a tool for any reticent colonial. In a reflexive analysis, as the colonized man gains voice and thus authority, it is also the colonizer who is naturalized to it. Yet the colonial context... Sorry? Oops, I have heard something, I suppose. Oh, okay. It is also the colonizer who is naturalized to it, yet the colonial context merely corrects since the Westerner remains a man of few words and his discourse is dispassionate and impersonal, while gesture and tone of voice carry a tinge of comradeship. Ömer Açarayur asserts Conrad developed a reader theory, today constituting the backbone of deconstructionist theories, promoting textual indeterminacy, dialogism, and multiple meaning. Conrad projects in his fiction a dynamic creative reader, an act of solidarity. Arsat's audience is the white man, and via him the other whites are the implied reader. Why is he, the audience, listening to such a story? It should appeal to them. Robert Hampson diagnoses that all representations of other cultures are only self-representations. The love story in an exotic setting may function as sugar-coating. The subplot of the brothers unfolds an allegory of broken brotherhood. Themes of guilt almost constitute an original sin in their context, which leads to drastic consequences, including death as punishment, alluding to the biblical one. No worse enemy and no better friend than a brother, says Arsat. Is colonialism not a denial of universal fraternity, a betrayal of one's kind? His remarks, for one brother knows another and imperfect knowledge is strength for good or evil, both recall all views of sciences and civilization to exploit humanity and stress the concept of choice. As Diamalan was the object of desire, and for her Arsat betrayed anybody selfishly, the colonies are the object of imperialistic desire and self-centered hegemonism. When one abuses the brother, one denies his own integrity in metaphorical self-annihilation. Conrad's critic on the surface also announces brotherly love. Arsat asserts a moral and existential dilemma. Tuan, I loved my brother. In his usual verbal economy, affective control, and corporeal poetics, the white man objectifies a universal concern. The white man stretched his legs, his chin rested on his chest, and he murmured sadly without lifting his head, "We all love our brothers." Convergence between the colonizer and colonized in a humane dimension reflects on body language and succinct verbal communication in the conclusion too. The white tradesman stands up when Arsat steps in, hearing the last breath of the woman. Mirroring also turns into echoing. I can see nothing, he said, half aloud to himself. There is nothing, said the white man. In spite of a new shiny day, Arsat has no prospects. His sole companion dies, thus he can revenge his brother, only to be killed by the Raja's band of men. The white man again expands the subjective assertion to a generalized affirmation. In self-reflexivity, he summarizes colonization or life in this one-sentence judgment. Conrad's use of non-conversational dialogue is detected by Aaron Vogel as discursive agenda. The forced dialogue runs as follows. In quotation marks, that speeches of the person demanding speech from the other are counterpointed to narrative prose passages which describe mainly the silence and gestures of that other. The prose may also describe the surrounding scene. This dynamic ends, however, with some speech of the heretofore silent character, which amounts to a denotation or a loud silencing, a conscience sentence upon their relation in both meanings, a statement and a punishment, often mutual, which can have pronounced political implications without losing its psychological cast. Conrad closes the text with the frame narrative in third-person omniscience. Tuan, in evasion, is looking away upon the water rather than Arsat's face, despite his offer, "I will wait all the morning." From the westernist angle of vision, Arsat is looking beyond and into a metaphorical darkness. The colonial can only envision a world of illusions as human prospects. For Robert Hampson, Conrad seems to occupy the position that Baba theorizes as the third space enunciation, a position of hybridity outside of and beneath the dualism of same and other, founded on heterogeneity, which underlies all positive articulations of cultural difference. In The Lagoon, Conrad deciphers the colonial. Conrad is ironical about the white man's burden, as it not only does not help the colonized people, but also presents the colonizer with a moral world. Worse, he cannot discharge his affective burden and moral upsurge, and for a little bit sees a succinct discourse and the colored man's mirroring agency are the sole means in his hands. Thank you very much.
I thank you for this bland speech.